6:17. We're calling the meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody for tonight's meeting. Just a couple of notes. There are papers in the back. There are copies of the agenda for everyone to have, as well as copies of a letter that the board received last night that are also available for folks to have. There is a packet that says on it public copy. That is the one copy that has all the material. If you need to look up something in the material, please look it up in that packet and put it back so that others can also have access to it. Okay? You have it in the next to your packet. Board members have copies of the letter as well. Okay? All right, and Lindsay, sitting back there, is our note taker. She's filling in for Francis, so she doesn't know us very well, so please respect the fact that she may not know who said what. And so keep an eye on her. If she raises her hand, stop, and let's see what she needs so she has good notes. Okay? All right. Without further ado, if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's harder to get up these days.
Thank you. And if we may call the roll.
David. Here. Hassan. Here. Susan. Alex. Here. Jason. Here. Andrew. Brandy.
Here.
Becky.
Here.
Assad.
Yes, here.
Gabriel here. Isam.
Here.
And we have a form.
All right, thank you. Next item is item 5 on the agenda. It is a consent calendar that has on it the minutes from September 4th, the minutes from November 28th, minutes from January 9th, the monthly expenditure report for December, and the monthly expenditure report for January. And on the third page of the agenda, for those that are interested in the detail, is a discussion of what the consent calendar is and how it works. So we vote on it as a single item without discussion. However, any board member may pull any item off the consent calendar if they have a need to discuss anything on that item. Anybody has a need to pull an
Can you
item?
take the minutes off of the consent calendar?
Which minutes?
Well, the January, and then what's the other one? There's, how many minutes was it?
September, November, January.
The November, I believe, or January.
Okay, which ones?
November and January?
November and January are taken off the calendar. That's Jason Hector that made the request, Lindsay. Anything else? All right. Any public requests to take an item off the consent calendar? All right. Without any further comment on that, call the vote on the remaining consent calendar items.
Yes, I want to make a motion for the remaining consent items 5A, D, and E.
I'll second the motion. David Bailey.
Who was the first?
Gabriel. Lindsay, for what it's worth, if you just number us, and maybe that'll help later fill in the names.
Okay, well,
All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the vote.
All right, David.
Yes.
Hassan.
Yes.
Susan. Absent. Alex.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Andrew's absent. Brandy.
yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Assad.
Yes.
Gabriel. Yes. Isam.
Yes.
And motion's passed.
Thank you. Let's pull item 5B, the minutes from the November 28th meeting. Any comments on the minutes?
Yeah, so I had quite a few changes on some of the things that were on here. And I don't know if you want me to, is it possible to table these and I'll get the corrections to you, or you want me to go through them right now? Because there's quite a few on there. I apologize, I didn't send them to you earlier.
I'll move the table.
All right, one option is to table. Okay, we'll table the November minutes.
Okay, and then January is pretty simple. Just a couple things on January. Are you ready to move to January?
Okay, so item 5C, minutes from the January meeting. Any comments?
Okay, page 6, there's, let's see, towards the bottom, where it says Gabriel.
Hold on one second. Yes, Lindsay?
Sorry, I raised, but no one saw it. Previous motion that was asked for by Jason, who seconded for the item to be tabled.
I motioned to
And I seconded, Jason.
Point of order. Jasmine, where are you?
She's right here. Got the door.
Just send it out.
Yeah, I'm asking. Jasmine, do we need a vote on tabling the motion or just tabling it? We're tabling a motion. Approval of minutes.
Yeah, you can vote on it.
We have a first and a second, then I apologize. Any public comment on the tabling of the motion, of the minutes, or the motion? All right, call the vote.
It's for tabling 5B.
5B.
All right, David,
Yes.
Hassan,
Yes.
Susan, absent, Alex,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Andrew's absent, Randy, Becky,
Yeah.
Hassan,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes, Isam.
Yes.
All right, motion tabled.
Okay, now going back to 5C. Jason, can you
Yeah.
make your comment?
Okay, on page 6, tell me when you're there. Okay, go like up 5, see where it says Esau, and then it says hat? That should be what?
Isam,
You see it? Oh,
I'll just take notes and I'll change
okay,
it.
yeah, it's like the fifth bullet point from the bottom. And then the part where it says Jason added that Parks and Recs is eliminated the name Boone Park as recommended by Mitch in consideration. I don't know where they came up with that, but that should be deleted.
Strike it, we'll strike what exactly?
Strike like the fourth from the bottom. Jason added that Parks.
Just a second.
Yeah, it's gonna be easier to follow on. Page 6. And then go 4 bullet points up.
Okay,
And it says Jason added at Parks and Recs Department. Okay, so scratch that. I don't know if you want to look at the video. I don't know what it was meant to say, but I definitely didn't say that they eliminated the name Blue Park. Because that's what they consider.
that's the whole thing, okay.
Yeah. And then the next line, it says Jason was also afraid of folks confusing Porter Ranch. It shouldn't be Porter Ranch Community Park. It should be Porter Ranch Park. Because that's what we were talking about, proposing that name. And then instead of and, it should be with the similarly named Porter Ridge Park.
Okay,
And I think, and then you got the what, right? Go up.
yes, I got it.
You got the what, okay. And then on the 7th page, they keep saying City Parks and Recs, but it's Recs and Parks.
Which item? Which item?
It's going to be, go to number 16 and then look at the sentence above it. It says ESOM reported that
Right.
cities, it's Recs and Parks, recreation and parks, not Parks and Recs.
Same with paragraph.
Gotcha.
And that's all. Everything else is good.
Any other comment on the minutes? Any public comments? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Yes, I want to make a motion to approve amended minutes, January 9 minutes.
I'll second.
Gabriel?
Brandy second.
Brandy seconded. Call the vote.
All right, David,
Yes.
Hassan,
Yes.
Susan, absent, Alex,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Andrew's absent, Brandy,
Yes.
Becky,
Yeah.
Hassan, yes, Gabriel, yes, Isam,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, item 6, is the financial report. Our treasurer is not here, so in the packet, There's an attachment, bear with me to get there. This is a direct download from the city clerk's website, and it reflects a budget of $42,000, expense to date, and by the way, that date is February 7th. Expense to date is $12,577 and change. Total outstanding is $3,559.24. Net available is $25,862.98. Any question or anything from the board? Yes.
So, because he's not here, I can't confirm with him or ask, but we have a number of outstanding bills for things involving the holiday party, for example. And I don't know if those are reflected in the funding request or any of these other items, or if they're just still part of the net available for the spend.
Do you know if he submitted them? If he did, then they would be in the total outstanding number.
I'm hoping, I don't know, and I can't ask him because he's not here.
Okay. Any other comment, question? Any public question, comment on the financial report? All right. It's not a motion for a vote, so we'll move to item 7. Presentation from representatives of elected officials or city departments. Whom do we have?
So it's okay, I'm waiting for Katie Butler from County
Okay.
Health up here. Is it okay if I defer if there's another elected
Of
officer?
course, of course. Please.
Good evening, everyone.
You may want to turn it on.
There we go. Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Wolf. I'm Senator Stern's district director. I've known a lot of you guys since I had long hair, and now I don't have any hair. So, yeah, I was a field rep for Senator Stern, and now I'm serving as district director. And just wanted to come here to emphasize our support for this community. Aliso Canyon Porter Ranch continues to be our capital office and our district office in our top priorities. And our office is actively monitoring the proceedings at all times. That is on the mind of the capital office. We continue looking at the root cause analysis and what caused the leaks, and that should be coming out in the next few months, and we'll be in communication with you guys about that. And we are working with the new administration. Senator Stern has a great relationship with the new governor to try and get that 10-year drastically reduced to get the facility shut down. Our office is always open to anyone who wants to contact. I have some cards. Thank you guys for having me here tonight, and please feel free to reach out for any issues that you guys are having that we've not been made aware of. So thank you. Yes.
Please give our condolences for his loss.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yes, it's been a rough time in our office. The senator's grandfather passed away last Thursday, so he's very upset about it. But he had a long, full life. Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right.
Jeremy, may I ask you a question? Is it okay to ask a question?
Jeremy, if we could take some
Yes.
questions, legislative questions.
Is SB 57 dead in the water, or can we revise that?
I cannot fully speak on that, but I believe in the form it was written, it would not come, it'd be really almost impossible
Okay.
to have the same type of bill. However, we are looking for other ways, but you know it is the senator's priority, and we're still not happy about that bill being killed.
Thank you. We know how hard you tried over there.
Any other question for Mr. Wolf? All right. Thank you, Jeremy, for being here. Thank you.
So I can go eat some if you like.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Please.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Jerry Degoni on behalf of LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. I do have a couple of updates, and as I joke around with all of you, sometimes we do more in our office than just Aliso Canyon, so we do have some other county updates that I think are pertinent to Porter Ranch that I'd like to share with you. Before the holidays in December, the Board of Supervisors adopted what we call our Santa Susana Trails Master Plan Phase 2. The county has a Trails Master Plan and started in the Santa Susana Mountains. And phase 1 of that master plan was the unincorporated Chatsworth area, basically Oak Mountain, county line to Oak Mountain to Aliso Canyon. And what a Trails Master Plan is, it's a community engagement process in which the county works with stakeholders, equestrians, hikers, bikers, to identify key historical trails that are within, that both are both on county and private property. One thing that's unique to our unincorporated areas in the San Fernando Valley is that it's a hodgepodge of public and private property. You could be on a hike one day on San Monica Mountains Conservancy, and then about 5 minutes later you accidentally stumble onto private property. And what we want to try and do is identify these historic trails that can be placed into the county general plan and within Parks and Recreation, and we can work towards getting easements for these trails and create a seamless trail plan with the vision of going all the way to Ventura County, through the San and Susana Mountains in the San Fernando Valley, and further out towards Angeles Forest and other areas. So we passed phase 1 actually several years ago under Supervisor Antonovich. Supervisor Barker directed staff to start implementing phase 2, and the board successfully adopted that. Phase 2 goes from Aliso Canyon to Sunshine Canyon and Granada Hills, up and over the mountain of the Santa Clarita Valley, connects with the Newhall Ranch Trails Master Plan, and that connects up to the Castaic Trails Master Plan in the Santa Clarita Valley. This is a huge effort, and we're very proud of this because the long-term vision is we will now have a seamless trail system that takes you anywhere over the North LA County area, and we are actually reaching out to our counterparts in Ventura County so that the trail just doesn't stop at the county line. You can go up into the Pacific Trail, you can go all the way to the Reagan Library, and then of course we have the Pacific Rim project that the federal government is undertaking. So we're pretty proud of that, and that totally surrounds Puerto Ranch. We thought you should be aware of that. The second item I want to discuss, I've been outreaching to the equestrian committee of the Chatsworth Neighborhood Council as well as other equestrian groups, and if this neighborhood council of Puerto Ranch would like a presentation on it, I'm happy to do so at a later time. We're moving forward with the design work of a new equestrian park in Browns Canyon, which, if you know, Browns Canyon is right between Puerto Ranch and Chatsworth in the unincorporated Chatsworth area. We bought a piece of property called the Green Property. We dedicated to the equestrian community that we're going to turn that into an equestrian park. And we now have the first, we now have some design work and are starting to clobber the money together to start construction of that park. And I think that will be a good win for both the residents of Chatsworth and Puerto Ranch. David.
Yes, how large is that park?
Oh gosh, Green Property. There's people behind me that probably know that.
2 square miles, square mile?
It's like 40 acres?
Yeah.
It's about 40 acres.
So just smaller than our park in Puerto Ranch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good sized park, and it's on multiple
Levels?
yeah, multiple, topographically speaking, it's two different areas, but they are connected. It was a working ranch at one point in time. We just want to make that an active equestrian park now.
Okay. I want to talk to you, well, I'll reach out to you regarding another piece of property for you guys to look at it, so we'll talk about it.
You got it.
Is this before the Antonovich Park? Or is it after?
Yes, it is. It's just before Antonovich Park. It actually could potentially one day link up to Antonovich Park, but it is just before Antonovich Park. And then, Brent,
Go ahead.
you sure? I was going to go to Elisa because that's going to take up some
Yeah,
time.
go ahead.
You sure?
Yep.
Because I've got public health I'm going to call.
That's fine, go ahead.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get into Aliso Canyon and the county update. I do have some new information that has just been given to us earlier this week, and I haven't even had a chance to update anybody on the neighborhood council, but it looks like the judge is going to look at the settlement on February 25th. We're under the impression it was going to be held off until March. The judge is going to look at it on the 25th, and we are cautiously optimistic that the new judge, that she will approve in a summary judgment the settlement, and we will begin to start moving forward on February 25th. In light of that, we thought it was important for public health to be here today to present to you some of the work that we have done to try to be prepared, as best prepared as we can, to move forward on the health study once that settlement has been reached and that allocation has been made. So I've asked Manny Dang to be here for public health, and she'll be here to kind of step you through the process of what they've done and what we are proposing. We wanted to be open and transparent. We wanted to make sure that but at the same time, we wanted to show you that we had put a lot of work behind the scenes so that we can start moving forward, but also receiving community input at the same time. One thing I do want to stress, a lot of the work that the county has done behind the scenes hasn't been made to withhold information from the county. It's very administrative and bureaucratic and function, meaning that our contracting process, our procurement process is as streamlined as possible. So the advisory panel, when they make a decision, the county department can move immediately towards implementing that decision to be able to bring the contractors on board as soon as possible. But I do want to, I'm going to ask Mandy to come up now. She'll share with you what the health department has been doing behind the scenes in preparation for this. Because we thought tonight was the best for the neighborhood council because it's going to be the last. This probably would have been implemented before the next neighborhood council meeting, and we weren't sure if the ad hoc committee would be meeting for us to give an update as well. So we wanted to come tonight and share with you. So Mandy?
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Manny, just to, I'm a little stickler on the schedule, so this is not itemized as an agenda item. It's an update, so keep it quick if you can.
It is very quick. We do
Not
have
too
a
quick.
handout that we'll pass around, and the handout doesn't, there's not a lot of information, but there's a couple web addresses we wanted to hand out, so that'll be coming around. So as Jared said, we did get the court date for February 25th, so we're very excited that that's on the calendar again. Hopefully this will be resolved soon. We have been doing as much as we can, like Jared said, behind the scenes to make sure that we're in a position to move quickly once the settlement is finalized. So as you know, there is $25 million in that $119.5 million settlement for the long-term health study. And, we'll probably be talking more about what that means. But, a long-term public health study is usually a multi-year study that looks at the impact on health and other factors in the community. And so that is what the health study will do. The health study will be administered by DPH, and we will do that in coordination, in collaboration with both the Scientific Oversight Committee and a community advisory group. So those groups, we're sort of going through the process now, figuring out how to get those applications for people to express their interest online. That will be happening hopefully as soon as the settlement is finalized. And basically we will be having a lot more information once the settlement is finalized. So I did provide on the handout on the back sort of what we can do immediately. We know that our website is very outdated, and so we're working on an update to the website, and that will be something moving forward that we're able to keep more updated than it has been. So look, hopefully, this month we'll be getting those updates online. We also have our social media, of course, for public health. If you want to sign up to get more information, I'll leave this on the back, your name and email. If you received an email from me when the settlement first was reached, the settlement agreement, you received an email from me, then you're definitely on my list. If you didn't get that email or you're not sure, you can sign up here. And then finally, while we're waiting to get started, there's a great example of a long-term health study that I think is really interesting to take a look at, so you get some ideas about what goes into a health study, what the role of the community advisory group, scientific oversight committee, those things, and that's the Gulf long-term follow-up study. And so that website is also here on your handout. And I have cards available, and I'll be sticking around, so if there's any questions, I don't want to take any more time now.
Thank you. Board and cash.
Email us the handout? We didn't get.
We don't have any handouts.
We will,
You have the website?
We
provided 40 copies, we'll send it to you right now.
So,
You can read
we
off
will
the
get it
website.
by email and send it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
yeah,
Just read off what the website is so we can.
oh, sure, the gulfstudy.nih.gov.
And then where do you get the updates, sign up for updates?
The sign up, I'll put this paper,
that's
on.
good.
I can pass it around too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you, but on a slightly different topic, very different. Given what we've seen with the rats in City Hall and the typhus, is there any concerns about that for the rest of the county outside of the immediate area of downtown LA?
I have not been involved at all with that response, but from what I've heard, it is more localized.
I can talk from a general county level. I can't get specific regarding DPH. I can tell you that the county's declaration is countywide,
but the issues and the outbreaks have been isolated to downtown and a couple of areas in Pasadena. We haven't noticed it anywhere else.
Okay.
Board, any question for Mandy before I open it to the public? No question. Public, any question for Mandy? Go ahead.
Hi, Mindy. Craig Blunt, thank you for being here. On Monday, the city council had a meeting of the health commission, and I don't know if you're aware or not, but let me tell you very quickly what the topic was. So our CD12 city council member got unanimous decision that the city council asked the city health commission to review two things. This is just Monday. To review the settlement between the AQMD and SoCal Gas and how the $1 million is being spent. And they were also to address the levels of styrene, ethylbenzene, uranium, lithium that were discovered in the residents throughout the Aliso Canyon area that were identified and exposed by Dr. Jeffrey Mandel. Many of us from the community went, and the council was unaware of the issues and was expecting county public health to be there to review these motions. Do you have any idea why you guys were there?
You know, I didn't hear about the meeting, so I'm assuming it's because they didn't maybe reach out to us ahead of time to let us know that that's what they were expecting, but we certainly, you know, can communicate with them and see what it is that they need assistance with. In terms of the AQMD health study, you know, I think that is set up to sort of help our long-term health research study by kind of collecting all of that data and organizing it in a way that researchers working with our health study will then be able to use. So that I think is a nice, you know, it's working to fit nicely together.
Okay, so just so we're clear, so you're confirming that roughly somewhere around $500 million is being set aside to develop a database for the forward health study.
I don't know the specifics of their study. I just know
Hundreds of
that
thousands of dollars.
that it's data related and modeling is, I think, what I've heard. I'm not involved with that steering committee, so I don't know specifics, but from what I've heard in terms of in the media, it's modeling in order to be able to sort of model the effects of the exposures.
The wind study.
Yeah.
And then last question, does the county public health normally communicate with the city health commission? It sounds like sister agencies.
I mean, the Department of Public Health is very broad and has a lot of different programs and divisions and groups. I don't believe that our office has in particular, but I'm not sure. I personally am not.
You don't know if there are regular communications with the city health commission?
Greg, I can speak a little bit historical on the City Health Commission, not as it necessarily relates to me. So my understanding, the City Health Commission regularly interfaces with our county environmental health division, which is within the department, regarding environmental health regulations, restaurant inspections, and whatnot. I just found out about this motion myself on Monday, and our office had not been contacted asking for public health to be there to address any questions. I'm just giving you a historical context, as I understand the relationship between the city's health commission and the county, but we'll look at the motion, and if the council office, CD12 and the other council office has any lingering questions, we'll get them next up.
These are legitimate questions, I would think you guys would want to answer.
I have one thing to add is a couple of members of the commission are from the county public health, and then a couple of members, just we looked up who they are.
Okay, any other question for Mandy?
Have a question for Jared?
I'm sorry?
Question for Jared?
Yeah.
Just me? Jared, on behalf of a recently formed committee, the Aliso Canyon Community Action Group, we'd like to politely request a meeting with Supervisor Barker to discuss issues surrounding Aliso Canyon, specifically the consent decree and that money.
I'll pass it on, Greg, to the office. I'll pass it on to the scheduler and I'll see what I can get done.
Excellent, thank you.
You got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you all. And, you know, I need to mention, we not have one, but we have two senior lead officers tonight. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you. I am Senior Lead Officer Danny Del Valle. I cover, thank you. My partner, Alan Sellers. All right, cover the Valley Hills. We went ahead and brought some statistics as to what's going on for the area, a few flyers that are going out for what's going on for current events, and also a new map with our information on how to contact us, our email addresses, phone numbers. We had some changes. They're in the back. Some of us, if you didn't get one, they're out in the back, on the table in the back, the rear. Again, Officer Sellers, we used to have Janine Angelis present. This is Alan Sellers taking her spot. Currently, just so you folks know, Dario Del Cor, which covers the other half of Porter Ranch, he's out of service for a little while. He's having some surgery, and but we will have a fill-in, a replacement, a temporary helping us out with the office, and we're also fielding other calls out. So if it's something in particular, please let me know, send me an email, and we'll be glad to help you. The emails are always really good. This flyer, we have Battle of the Badges coming up, which is a blood drive. So if you would, please donate. We never know when we're going to have a type of emergency, and we need blood. Trust me, I'll be there giving blood also. They always call me up, squirting out. That's going to be February 19th, Tuesday, Devonshire Station, and it's from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you would please come down, it's a good cause. Like I say, you never know if a family member or a friend, just anyone in general is in that need, and we're able to go ahead and help them out that way. February 23rd, there's a flyer on the back. Yes, copy with the captains, senior lead officers. That's going to be in Officer Sellers area, actually.
I know we're driving.
Yep. Starbucks, yeah. At Balboa, Knollwood, 11850 Balboa. And that's going to be on a Saturday, February 23rd, 9 a.m. to 11. So please come down, have a cup, and like I say, a number of us will be out there, and talk to us, see if you have any concerns or questions. We're always happy to have a cup and talk about things. Yes, sir.
Real quick question regarding the blood drive.
Yes.
I guess, time is of essence, so we want to give our blood, but do they schedule certain times ahead of time or anything like that?
Great question, asking if they can schedule an appointment time, what happens to make it more convenient for you? Yes.
Drive-through?
Not quite. Got to stay a little bit longer. We don't want anybody crashing. Senior Lead Officer Petit, she can coordinate that. Her email address is on the flyer also. So, and if you want to talk to her phone number for the office line, it's on that information sheet. But on the drive, on the flyer, her email address is on it. And you can schedule an appointment. That way you're in, you're out, and everybody's happy. Okay? So thank you for that. As for the area, like I said, I brought the stats. Before we were having issues with burglaries and the car break-ins and such that were going on in Porter Ranch, we've had complete turnaround. They've, like the dots have cleared up big time, but there was a number of reasons why we were doing that. We're really putting a lot of resources out there, additional patrols, having them be in the area, show their presence. We were putting up signs letting them know that officers are working the area. So it's just a number of different things. Always encourage to have startup meetings. If your neighborhood has a concern, they go, hey, you know what? I think we should be more involved with what's going on with the department or just our neighborhood. Neighborhood watch is always great to have. And of course, you never know when we have an unfortunate thing like an earthquake coming on. And your neighborhood needs to be prepared for, like we said, not just crime, but even a natural disaster. So good tool to utilize, and we encourage the neighborhood watch startup meetings if you like. Like I say, contact me. My email address is on the back. It's 27677@lapd.online. 27677@lapd.online, and we'll get a neighborhood watch meeting going. They are always helpful. Like I said, they're great for trying to keep the crime down because they see that the community is really involved. So please do so. As far as the areas, we just this morning had the numbers for Devonshire. When we go ahead and go for crime reduction, how are we doing? Again, it's like North Hollywood, West Valley, Topanga, and such. Devonshire now is currently #1, leading the valley for crime reduction. Out of the 21 divisions, Devonshire is #3 for crime reduction. That's awesome. I mean, I can't believe the numbers that we're having right now. They're really, it's unheard of. It's keep it up. Yeah, yeah, exactly. We have to try to keep it up. We've been lucky though. We've been having other resources like Metropolitan Division, Metro officers, other units that have been able to go ahead and help us focus on crime. We're going, hey, we're getting hit with burglaries or car thefts, and just things in general. We've been having a number of officers generate, the patrol out here. And as you can see, when we have more numbers, it truly is helpful. Very, very helpful. A while ago, I'm not sure if we addressed this too, maybe some of you heard, some of you haven't. Just about a month and a half ago, we were sent a surveyor from the chief's office to check out Devonshire because they were getting a number of complaints about how we need more officers. And, thank you for going ahead and spreading the word out, the concerns, because it's the residents that we serve, and we don't want to go ahead and, like I say, fall short of that. So it was really cool, and I think they went ahead, since they probably heard us crying the most, they were like, going, okay, you guys go out with Danny. And I had them get in the car with me, and we locked the doors. And we took them all the way out here, though. And like I said, showed them the areas of the amount of growth, the commercial, residential, and told them that, it's not coming, it's here. The thousands of homes, all the bodies that are having to be serviced. I mean, it's awesome because when usually we have a location like that, fire department, they put up a firehouse right away. For us, they go ahead and go, hey, you know what? More coppers, do what you can with what you have. And good for them, we need fire department. I'm not knocking that at all, one single bit. Because I'd rather have them go ahead and hose down my house if it's burning down or save someone, that's in truly an emergency need. But we're just saying, finally, they're hearing our voice out there, and they actually sent someone down, and hopefully we will get another car to patrol the area, a basic car, which needs a number of officers that have to work the division then. Not just on loan or here to stop by, but they'll be assigned to Devonshire. So we're working for that. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, my question is that if an individual has a ring out and they post an individual stealing a package or stealing an automobile, and they submit that to your division, how successful is that app in catching those?
It's great. We love that you send that. Please do. We have to try to identify the person, and at least that gives us an idea of who we're looking for. If we're looking for a male, a female who's out there committing the crimes, whether they be white, black, Hispanic, at least it gives us an idea of who we have. And then when you have a video of someone actually doing the act, as far as detectives go, that's just a nail right there in the coffin.
So we should file a police report?
Definitely, send emails to, if you have video, go ahead and send it to us, and then we'll go ahead.
We get crime reports when we're working patrol. We go to work all morning. We'll get those pictures of those crime rates in the areas and the time they're occurring. And you might get a picture of the individual, but your neighbor or somebody else a couple streets away might get a picture of the car. And so they can put those together and come up with a suspect.
Yeah, so please do. Like I say, we always really push out video. I'll tell you again, video, please. And real time, if it's something that's going on right then and there, that helps us all out. not after the fact. It's okay if you get it after the fact, that's fine, but something that's going to alert you going, hey, there's somebody at my door. There's somebody, somebody going ahead, going around the side of the house, and we see this type of activity. It helps us out because, yeah, we're on a time clock as to how long it's going to take for us to get the troops out there. We're going to get a unit. If we're able to, we get the airship, the helicopter, to go ahead and respond. Hey, we have an airship available. Boom, can you go ahead and hit that location? We'll fly over there, and they're directing us. So that's why we say real-time video, very essential. Please do so. Please get it. We had a homicide within our division a couple weeks ago and such. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. It happened in Chatsworth area. The case was solved in there. It was a gentleman who, got into it with his employee and ended up going ahead and shot him. He was arrested, taken into custody. And stuff.
Isn't there a homicide at Tampa and Raleigh?
Yeah.
And that was...
That was under CHP though.
Well,
That was-
CHP, I have a report on that under the committee.
He was homeless.
I have a report on that under my committee.
All right, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. Please, I'm going to have okay, just 1 second. But I'll go ahead and I have my meeting, 9901 Mason, February 28th. I have it every fourth Thursday of the month at St. John Youth. It's every fourth Thursday of the month at 7 p.m., 9901 Mason. And I will go in depth and all that, and we'll ask questions.
Well, go ahead, Becky, go ahead, please.
No, of course, I'm going to ask.
May I go first? Oh, okay. I walked Mission Trail last week, and then on the way back, I saw like some shopping carts. There's some encampments that you can visibly see, and then on the way back, I walked Rinaldi, and I found a needle right past one of the broken fences, and I reported it. I talked to a man this morning that was posting signs on the fences right across from Aldea.
Yep, and that's, we were there yesterday.
That's what I heard. Can you give an update on that? Like, how many people are living right there? I mean, I've seen 4 or 5.
There was a number of tents constructed up over there. Yeah, we were giving them the word to get out, private property on that area where they're at, having them do the postings, working on that with getting them out of there, and a number of them were backing up as we were doing that because we hiked down there and, we're getting all dirty and such. We told them that they have to actually stay on it though, too, when they have that type of situation. But as soon as for private properties, a lot easier to get the transients out because then it becomes a private person's arrest because it's their property. It's not so much, like public. It actually goes into the gray, more of the gray matters when we have that. When it's on private property, if they don't want to leave, we say, okay, then we're making a private person's arrest and arresting them. Bottom line. We told them that they have to, we can go ahead and we're going to schedule a number of different resources, the whole team that we often use that work with the transients. They go out there. We've given them other resources because we understand that they're homeless. We try to give them other shelters, other locations, other things that they can use to help them out and stuff. We're not trying to be heartless out there, but we're also trying to keep the area clean and really keep everyone happy. If they want to go ahead and use those resources, we're like, awesome. But again, we tell you folks, we can't make them. If they don't want to go ahead and use it, we've had many situations where we're giving it to them, they're all like, oh yeah, I'll go. And then when it comes down to them going, we go, never mind. Dan, Becky, just a second, please. Becky?
I think I heard that there was a huge arrest of about 30 or 40 gang members today or yesterday that were committing some really horrific crimes. Do you know anything about that?
I just know about the one in our division, but I don't know if
No,
it's
this
associated.
one was,
There was a federal that crackdown.
no, it wasn't in, but it was in LA. So.
Jared? I know federal marshals with federal probation and pretrial officers they did a massive sweep today, rounding up some gang members that had been in
Right.
possible violation of their federal conditions. And so they had that took place, I think, downtown, but I'm not positive.
One last question, Helen, you had a question?
Yeah, Officer Seller.
Just a second, please. Helen had raised her hand.
Yes, Balboa and Rinaldi, which basically the gas station, and so many transients there, and it's getting really out of control.
Yeah,
See us there yesterday.
Yeah, we
I was
home team officer, and the individual in the wheelchair, I don't know if you
Yes.
noticed, he's generally out there all the time, and they're really close to getting him off the streets. So, like my partner said, it's almost certain circumstances, we get them to the door of their shelter, and they decide not to take it, so I can't guarantee that he's gonna take those resources, but they're very close.
But the area behind the gas station, is it private
They've had-
property or is it public?
We're debating whether that's Caltrans or if that's that private property, so it just depends.
Well, we know exactly what you're talking about, because we were kind of focusing on that yesterday. Also, in the past, the area where she's talking about, there was a female that got burned to death. Yeah. Everybody has to try to focus on these areas.
I gotta move on. One last question, make it quick, please.
It's very quick.
Go ahead.
Officer Seller.
Yes.
You replaced the unit, right?
Yes.
Are you having a meeting this coming?
Yes.
Because last month we didn't have any.
Oh, they had a meeting, Officer Parker.
I see her all the time.
And it was Officer Parker and another officer.
I want to.
The Officer Parker did it
This
for me.
coming
Yes.
month?
Yes.
It will be on the,
It should be on the dates on the back.
on the 22nd, 26th.
Yes. 25,
In the
at
same-
Granada Hills.
In
Yes.
Fresno.
Okay. Officers,
That's it.
thank you very much for your time. I know you guys, your time is not yours, so would you like to say a few things? Please, go ahead.
See you. Recognize a couple of people. My name is Captain Tim Sharmer. I'd like to introduce my crew. This engineer, Chris Paul, he's our driver of the fire engine. Then we have paramedic John Hadley and firefighter Colbert. And we are Fire Station 8. And do you guys know Fire Station 28?
Yes.
So we're pretty much, sister stations that cover this Port Ranch area. I'd like to thank the council for buying us over. David, thank you. So, I'll tell you a little bit about our fire station and the organization, and we can have a little Q&A. And we actually feel like we're part of the neighborhood, because we live here all the time. I don't know if you're aware that we do 24-hour shifts, and we actually work at least 10, maybe 11 24-hour shifts a month. Sometimes we do overtime. We have like Chris, he's been working 4 days in a row, and John's working 3. So if you work out the math, I'm not very good at math, it's about a third of our life. We actually live in this neighborhood a third of our life, or even more. So we live here, and just like the police, we're part of the community, and we consider the fire station not only our fire station, but your fire station. And I see some faces that we see, and I'll go over a couple of things with you. Are you aware when it comes, with the fire department, but when you guys see us, probably the majority of the time is something to do with some kind of a medical call. Would you agree with that? And in fact, it's like 80% of our calls are EMS or medical. The rest are made up with fires, technical rescues like river rescues and trench rescues, hazmat. We have helicopters. We have our own Navy in the harbor. Huge department. We're part of the Valley Bureau, and we are actually Battalion 15, the 7 stations, battalion houses, 70s. Have you guys met Chief Ruiz or Ruder or anything?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's our immediate boss, and the Valley Bureau is equivalent of San Francisco. The resources, the manpower is equivalent of a major department. And we're the biggest battalion in the city, battalion 7. Not geographically, but we have like seven stations. So I'm sure sometimes you get confused. Grandma feels sick, and all of a sudden, this big truck turns up, and 5 strapping guys jump out, and you're like, wait a minute. I called the fire department. Well, because of the configuration of the organization, a fire company is going to probably get on scene before an ambulance. And luckily, we have a medic on our resource, just like 28s. So we can see you stabilize the patient, and then the rescue ambulance is going to come and do the transport. So that's why it confuses people. It's not because we're on an engine. You see the big truck with the big tiller, same thing. Why are these guys showing up? It's because we want to get there. Hopefully there's a medic on board, and as Chief Trousers, fire chief, he's going to get a medic on every resource in the city, every fire resource in the city. That includes the fire boats and helicopters. So we can get out to you as soon as we can, hopefully within 5 minutes. And if we're not there, then you're not alone, right? Because you have the dispatch, and there's going to be a trained paramedic or EMT who's going to talk you through and explain exactly what's going on until we arrive, if there's something critical. So really appreciate that you're giving this grant to us. It's for us, 8s and 28s, and we really appreciate that. And we're going to put that to good use. Because, again, we live in the firehouse, and the city only provides certain things to us, believe it or not. The rest, we provide. Pots and pans, we cook, we eat. It's called a firehouse. This guy here, these 2 guys here, great cooks. Great cooks, better than my ex-wife. Don't want to get into this.
Can I interject for a minute, if you don't mind? We have a little procedural thing happening here. Just we have items on the agenda for those two grants that you've applied for, and we're going to get to them. Usually we like to keep the conversation about them till then, but I know you guys can't stay till then, so please go ahead. Continue, but let's wrap it up. We're going to go back to them when we vote on them and vote on them, and I hope everybody will be okay with that exception. Please, go ahead. Let him finish what he wants to tell us, and then we'll ask him.
Okay, and then I want to ask.
Yes. So, all right, so I won't go into too much details, but so that grant will be put into good use for us. I mean, to buy things that we really need to help us to keep operational, so to be available for you guys. So we're here right now, we're on the radio, we can leave at any time. And so, I'm not going to go into the things that we might need. We do roughly anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 emergency calls a day. Not our station, but the city. And it's a variety of stuff. And basically, we take care of it. Apart from the fires and the medical calls, we take care of anything that falls through the gaps. You call 411, hey, something's happening here, and the city doesn't have an answer for you. Guess who they're going to send? Us. And we've been out with some bizarre stuff, but you know what? We're here to serve you. So we go there. Sometimes it's something we can't help you with, but we can direct you in the right place to go. But if there's something that we can help you with, even if it's not in our wheelhouse, we'll definitely try and help you as best we can. Because, like I said, we consider ourselves part of the community, right? And so 28s and us, we cover your area, and we're available at all times. And I'll let you to tell your family, your friends, your children, if there's something, if someone's upset, if someone doesn't know what to do, they can always come to the fire station and talk to us, and we can direct them in the right place. I don't know if you know about surrender, the child surrender. We actually have people come to our station with babies. No questions asked. No judgment. They come come with a baby, could be a young girl, confused, scared, doesn't matter.
Or a 15-year-old, I had a 15-year-old.
Yeah, there you go. And that's what I'm saying, any age, and that's what they should hopefully put out there, that we're there to help you. We're here to support the community. Just not fire, just not medical, it's to support you in any way you want. I'm just going to cut it short here, because there's going to be questions, I'm sure. And if there's any brush questions, I'm going to direct you to the expert here. These are the brush task force. Usually that's a lot of the questions about the brush, because that's confusing, right? So what's going on? I've got this little thing in the mail where I do. So let me just open it up. I don't know if the council or you guys have questions.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna be rude, Becky, and then I'm gonna take one public question and we move on.
Okay, we've had a lot of accidents in Port Ranch. The fire department has responded to some fatalities. Could you address that? And there've been one on Brasilia, one on Killamore, both on Wilbur, and some other accidents on Wilbur and Ronaldo.
Yeah, some of them are just solo vehicle crashes, and that's due to just speeding. And I know there's, I don't know if you have, especially speeding coming down Champlain, that's cars zooming down there. And then Wilbur, there's no speed ramps there, but that's where and then I guess Rinaldi.
Well, I saw two on Wilbur behind my house.
Yeah.
I live on the golf course, and you responded to both, and I was told both were fatalities, separate accidents.
Yeah, I was at both of those.
One was on Christmas Eve, and then...
Yeah, and it always comes down to people breaking the law and doing what they're not supposed to be doing.
And it was in the daytime too.
Yeah, right in the day, and it's tragic and it's terrifying. It was actually, one of them was on Christmas Eve.
At like 2 in the afternoon.
17-year-old girl and her 13-year-old sister that pulled out, and so it's tragic, and but it always it's always about speeding. So
what can we do as a neighborhood council?
I think the only thing you can really do is really crack down on the police patrol and see if you can get motor aides in there, and unfortunately writing tickets. They pull in front of the fire station, and we're right on Tampa there, and they write as many tickets as people drive by.
And I love it.
So I think that's definitely a police deal, and unfortunately we're in the day-to-day where everybody has a cell phone, and we go on accidents all the time, and I'm standing out there trying to make sure these guys are safe, and they're working on patients, and I can't tell you how many people I see drive by us, and they're either trying to video what's going on and drive, or they're on their phones texting, and so unfortunately we're in that time where, how do you address that? That's.
I mean, to the community, it's
can
not
we-
a safe place.
Can we not have a discussion? Let's move on, please. You got the answer to the question. Maureen, and then we gotta end it. If anybody has a question, please speak to the gentleman outside of the room.
My question is there any hope of getting like the stroke ambulance where they can give the shot right away?
Yeah, that's policy, that's above us. They do trials, and I know it's very important. But they do many trials in different areas, and if they deem, when they do enough trials and they determine that it's going to be effective, there might be something that might come down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Can you make it a 30-second clip?
So the councilman's office was not able to come here, but Ron Rubai called me, and he wanted to let us know, we've been talking about with the speeding on Reseda and Kirkholm.
Yes.
We brought that up at one of the meetings. So they're going to be doing a traffic study, and also they may be considering crosswalk with flashing lights there. And he said that they're going to increase enforcement in that area, and that Ken Feruzamon is on it. Those were the words from Ron.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the next item. Budget advocates, no one's here? Okay, got 5 minutes. Public comments for matters that are not on the agenda within the purview of the board, considering the time that we have. I'm going to ask you to make a 1-minute comment.
Is it generally 2?
I appreciate that. Yes, they generally do, but we are pressed on time.
Okay, that's.
So let me ask first this question. How many public comments want to be made? 1, 2, 2 minutes, please.
Okay,
Come on up.
thank you, appreciate it.
Did you guys eat your sandwiches back?
Hello, thank you for letting me speak tonight. So thank you. My name's Pamela Boland. I'm the president of the Northridge West Neighborhood Council. I've been on that board for 10 years, volunteering my time because I have a passion for our community. So I've been doing this. I started out as a treasurer because I have a finance degree from CSUN. And then I was appointed VP of Outreach because I love people and I love to do the emergency preparedness fair every year. I've been doing that over at Northridge Fashion Square. And we're getting ready to fund that on our agenda next month. As the president, my goal is to get the trees trimmed. Jason was kind enough to come to our meeting last night and tell me a vendor that cut some of the trees here in Porter Ranch. So I got an estimate, and my goal is to get the Tampa median beautiful. That's my goal because it's the gateway into Northridge. So we have 3 topiaries coming up, being built, of horses that will go on the Tampa median. We want to, perhaps, I have a meeting, I have called Council Member Craig Smith, and he sent out a couple dates today for me to have a meeting with him. We'd like to maybe do some gazanias that don't require a lot of water. And I got the estimate from Your Way Tree Trimming to trim the trees south of the 118 in our neighborhood and north of the 118. But as a passionate stakeholder, single mom in the community, doing this volunteering, I am actually going to consider running for CD12. So that's why I speak in front of you. I stop in the middle of dark and take pictures of potholes and send them to 311. The week after I became president of our council in June, is that one? Oh, that's it? Well, let me just be brief. I took photos on my time off on Saturday, sent them to City Hall to Kevin James. That Monday I got a email from Kevin, and he sent it to the appropriate department, and I got a call from Mitchell Englander's office and said we will go out and repave the streets, and this woman was waiting 10 years, and as a volunteer I did that. And I love our community. Go out and vote. June 4th is a special election for Pamela Boland.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Second time, please.
This may be out of order, but I need to make a comment to the fire department, especially Station 8. I credit you with saving both my daughter's life and my husband's life. In 2005, my daughter had a grand mal seizure. You were at my door before I kicked you down the stairs from the bedroom. My husband had a massive heart attack, the widowmaker artery completely blocked in 2015, and you saved his life. You kept me calm.
No further public comment.
They had me on low.
Item 10, we are 7. Item 10, I'm going to impress on the board to give a 1-minute update, and if you don't have an important update to give, please pass it on. So, Hassan, would you like to start?
Yeah, nothing from.
David?
I'll be brief. So we're still dealing with the naming of the park. So next week, the next meeting, they will have representatives coming to speak on behalf of the park and the naming of the park. So please, I love seeing everybody out here today. Please come and give your feedback as to what you would like to see naming of the park, because this is our park. It's the park that's going to be living in our community as long after we're gone. So please come to the next meeting.
Thank you. Susan?
I chair 3 committees. First, I want to talk about very quickly the ad hoc on the Lisa Canyon fence line. I just want to remind you all, we've been very transparent. All of our agendas and minutes are posted on our website. In fact, I look at the October one, and there's 46 pages of information on our minutes. And some people from the community, like Lane, have always live streamed it on Facebook, so if you can't attend in person, you can always see it there, and she's recorded it, and it's just been very transparent and giving a lot of information to the community about what's going on with that committee. The proposed consent decree includes $3 million for the development of a community air monitoring fund, and I think Mandy gave us the update on that proposed consent decree. Okay, Sustainability Committee, we will not meet again until May 21st, and the Outreach Committee is fully in charge of Earth Day this year. And Homelessness Solutions Committee, we are working closely now with West Valley Neighborhood Alliance. That is an alliance of, I have 3 committees, can I put them? This is an alliance of West Valley Neighborhood Councils that are dealing with the homeless. This is a forum this Saturday at Granada Hills High School to educate us, the community, about what services are available for individuals experiencing homelessness. David, I, and Jason have been very involved in outreach to the homeless. We did a Clean Streets, Clean Starts last October, November. We outreached into Limestone Canyon. And lastly, I want to talk about the death. The death on the Tampa off-ramp off of the 118 freeway. I talked to Officer Cohen. He was a CHP officer at the scene. I was there when they took the body up. I have to tell you, her family has been notified. Her name was Erin Carroll. She was 28 years old. They did rule out foul play, and there is a toxicology report, but those take months. I know on detective shows they like do it in an hour. Toxicology reports take months. So that's where we are with that. There is an upside to that. I had a talk with Officer Haber, and CHP has a whole outreach that they do to the homeless community, just like the HOPE team in LAPD. And so they are happy to come and talk to us about what they do, because they outreach to people along the off-ramps, along the sides of the freeway. That is their domain. That's why LAPD didn't have any information on that. That was CHP. She had been contacted. She had only been there a couple of months, so we didn't reach her in our outreach, but they had outreach to her. They had offered her services. So I was heartened to hear that. That is it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hassan?
All right, real quick. So the first item on the resilience, we received the template. Susan and I filled most of it. And once I have the first draft ready to pass along, I'll submit it to the board if there is any missing items or information they would like to share. Second, David, Gabriel, and myself organized with the CPAP and the LAPD several neighborhood watch meetings to educate the communities, the gated communities in Port Arthur, and with the help of CSL Dani, it went out very well. And the last item, the complaint we got for the signs, CD12 and myself through my regular office, we reached to all the companies, and it's taken care of that they will not be doing any of those sorts of things.
Thank you. Pass. Go ahead.
Okay, so with outreach, with all the tablings we've done from Rally in the Valley to I can't count all of them, we are going to need more swag, so we're going to put in a thing for that. We're working on website updates that we hope to get on the agenda next month, and we've been doing several events, but the big one that's upcoming is the Earth Day one, which, given all of the updates and changes that have been going on with Liso Canyon, I think this will be a good opportunity to outreach the community and let people who don't spend all their time here dealing with the issue learn about what's been going on. So I've been doing a lot of outreach to the community and to groups that are interested in being a part of that. So when that agenda item comes up, I hope people will support it. The only other comment I want to give is both our neighborhood council election and anybody interested in city council race, you have until Tuesday as the filing deadline for both of those. So anyone who wants to get more involved and run for anything, Tuesday.
Thank you.
I have three, and I'll make it, I'll
Go
do it
ahead.
2 minutes. Okay, the first one is, I'm working on a HERO, a public safety luncheon, save the date, Thursday, May 30th at Airtel Plaza. It's for heroes of the Los Angeles Fire Department and the Los Angeles Police Department CD12. We're going to honor them, those who have exhibited heroic deeds in the service of our community. Number 2, Cal State University Northridge Matador Baseball is trying to get lights for their field so that the children throughout Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley have a place to play baseball at night. It will be the only university in the San Fernando Valley that has lights for youth activities and baseball activities. The campaign Light Up the Valley is beginning. I'm going to chair that for the university, and hopefully we will have that university up and running for the Los Angeles area within the next year. And the third thing is I have been working with street services for the last 2 years, and I'm very happy to announce that all of the streets in Porter Ranch, the golf course area, they were all paved, and some of them were in such bad condition that they had to take the street out and rebuild it. However, they left one section, Palo Mesa, and they did not repave it. And I've been working with the city for 2 years to get them to come back and repave it. And on January 21st, my birthday, they paved the street. They dug it up. It just happened to be a coincidence. So I want to thank the city for taking care of that. There were some really extenuating circumstances that happened in the 60s with integration as to why that street was left off of the map, which I'm not going to go into. I will be writing an article in the newspaper. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Jason?
All right. I've been going to the Community Forest Advisory Committee, which is a city committee that advises on issues related to trees and urban forestry. They're looking to do a street tree inventory of all the trees within Los Angeles. I talked about the DUDEC report, which is a comprehensive report with several recommendations to the city of LA. Basically, their urban forestry is severely underfunded. And so the first steps that they're looking to do is an urban forestry management plan. They want to get some tree management software. And currently, Council District 12 does not have a representative on this committee. And then I'm continuing to try and figure out how to get trees planted. Unfortunately, it's about $9 per tree per trip, which equates to about $270 per year per tree, which is extremely expensive. So I don't expect that we'll be planting too many trees here in our budget. I wanted to mention one thing about the outreach meeting. So we did agendize to have a candidate forum for the Council District 12 position, but that was not able to be discussed because Brandy is running for the Council District, so she had to abstain. So we will try and get that on the agenda at the next meeting. I wanted to give a couple updates on the park. ET Park is just about finished. They've installed all the new play area there, and now they're beginning to work on Wilbur Tampa Park. There was, in Longkill Canyon, there was a couch that had been sitting there. They finally got it out of there and cleaned up. We've been putting in a lot of requests to get the illegal signs removed on 311 and graffiti removals near the overpass and in Longkill Canyon South. And so that's pretty much what I've been working with that. As far as the schools, we have had a lot of success from years. Last year we worked on getting recommendations from traffic. So they put in the speed humps on Castle Bay Lane, which is fantastic. When you leave this and you go this way, you'll see the new speed humps. We also were able to get, and I put a copy of it, on Bowmore and Braymore, they put in stop signs. So there's now a three-way stop sign there. And also they made the recommendation to put, if you go right out here and make a right, this intersection here, it's Bowmore Place and Kirkholme Lane. They're also going to be putting three-way stop signs there. because the issue is parents come flying into this area. And so this is really going to help slow things down and hopefully prevent anything disastrous from happening. Other than that, we got our election signs. Sherry returned those to us for the election, the signs, so that was good news.
Quick clarification?
Yeah, just
10
to clarify.
seconds.
So the outreach committee, my existence on the committee doesn't prevent us from talking or dealing with the town hall. I have to recuse myself and we still have to have quorum. We just didn't have quorum without me for that one
Right.
meeting. That's all.
Okay.
So,
We couldn't talk about it.
yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Danny.
Without objection, but you'll tell me, Jasmine asked for a few minutes to set up. So to make our lifetime efficient, I'm going to move the break to now, drop it down to 5 minutes. You can set up and you'll do your presentation right after. Is that okay? You can stay out till 10 and come back in.
Yeah, right.
All right. Just for the records, Lindsay back here, Lindsay. Board member Grace had to leave. Brandy Grace. Okay. Okay, so unfortunately our grand idea of setting up a projector did not work. You know, a chain is as strong as its weakest link, and we just needed a connection between that cord and the computer that we do not have. And therefore, Jasmine is going to inform us more and entertain us less.
Or entertain us more.
All right, Jasmine, how much can I push the time?
I can be very brief. It really depends on the questions from the audience, so.
Okay, can you make your piece
5 to, yeah.
10 minutes,
Yeah.
and then we'll open the floor? I'd like to keep the whole item down to 20 minutes max.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jasmine L. Barbary. I am the Neighborhood Empowerment Advocate for the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. So I'm happy to see you all here because that means you know what a neighborhood council is and where to find yours. I just wanted to talk a little bit about neighborhood council elections. So they normally happen every 2 years. So generally 2 to 4 years, right? And some seats are staggered, some are not. I don't want to get too technical, but some Porter Ranch neighborhood council seats are up for election. You are eligible to file as a candidate for the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council if you live, work, own property, or have a substantial and ongoing community interest in Porter Ranch.
Anna,
Yes.
the 5 seats are at large only.
Thank you.
You have to explain that.
Yes, so there are 99 neighborhood councils in Los Angeles, and they all have different board structures and seats, so it is hard to keep them all straight in my head. So thank you. There are 5 open at-large seats, so if you are an at-large candidate, you can run. And that means if you essentially have a community interest, and sorry, if you live, work, own, you can qualify to run for a seat. Community interest is not up for election this cycle. It will be in the next cycle. So if you live, work, or own property here, then you're eligible to run for a seat. And candidate filing is open until Tuesday. So you have about a little less than a week. Yes?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow's the last day for online.
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, until Tuesday. Yeah, so you can register as a candidate online through the city clerk's website, or I have paper candidate filing applications with me if you wanted to do that. As you can see, being a board member, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So board members are here to listen to the community's concerns, to help solve community problems, really, and to be the bridge. I like to think of it as bridge building, right? So the board is here to hear from the community about your concerns. And the board is also working diligently through committees, through community outreach events, through community improvement projects to really improve your quality of life here and to make government more responsive to local needs. So if there's a problem that needs solving, right? Let's say crime is up in a certain dark stretch, an area. Well, obviously the first solution would be, well, we need LAPD to come more often and look out for crime. But sometimes it might be an out-of-the-box solution, right? Like, oh, well, maybe we need more street lighting here, actually, because if it's just a dark corner, that's kind of a magnet, but no one wants to do something shady under a bright light. So it might be a solution like that. I had a really cute video to show you about what it means to be a board member. But I'm happy to send that information to anybody who's interested. And also I'm here to answer any questions. There are some. Yes.
Okay, so just to elaborate on what you're saying, with the elections and the 99 neighborhood councils, Empower LA is encouraging each neighborhood council to go and put up banners at the location where the election center is at. The banners would need to get an application going on to the city, plus it would need approval of whatever the banner content with a council motion. So just bring it to the attention of the board that they could coordinate with Empower LA to do an application to the city.
Okay, since you brought it up, you are on the, no, you're on the rules and bylaws, never mind. The elections committee, which I did not want to take the time to do the update on it, so I skipped. We are coming, we're trying to get focused on the candidates right now, and that's why we're pushing the candidate message. We haven't said anything yet about the voting. We're preparing for the voting messaging. That will come to the board in March for approval, so we can get it done. But we just could not do both of them, and that's why we're here right now.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that generally you could participate in your neighborhood council in a number of ways. You could be part of a committee, even if you're not a board member, or you could volunteer for events. But having the opportunity to actually run for a board seat doesn't always come very often or consistently, because if board members carry out their terms, it could potentially be 2 or 4 years with some neighborhood councils until you would have the opportunity to run again. So it's a great experience, at least, to run. And we're here to assist with the process. By we, I mean me. I'm here to assist in the process. Through the online website, I have a bunch of information with me, and I'm happy to walk anybody through it if they need help. So, yes.
Would you like to talk a bit about how many hours a week or a month being on a board we all work for the community? Like, give them an idea. I know it's in the video, so I thought maybe you could act it out.
Yes. Thank you. I actually think you would probably know better, but in general, neighborhood councils clearly meet once a month for a general board meeting. There are committee meetings that happen maybe once a month, maybe more often than that. It really depends on the committee. And it really takes, I would say, about an extra 20 hours, 20 to any, well, you know what, I won't put hours on it. I'll let board members here speak for themselves, because it does take a lot of work, but it is also very rewarding. And it's an opportunity to make a positive difference in your community. Susan, about how many hours would you say?
I don't want to scare anybody.
Okay.
And I also want to stress that the elections committee of the board is intentionally made up of board members that are not running. So it's our job to make sure candidates file and voters get engaged. So it's odd that there are, it appears like a conflict. Board members are promoting candidates from the outside, but it's structured so that anyone who's running is utterly not involved in any elections committee discussion. And obviously, the elections committee meetings are open to the public to come in and participate as well. So, we want to make sure that that message is clear. And we have put a very comprehensive Q&A page on our website, and hopefully it'll help everyone answer the questions that they might have. Please go ahead.
And I also just want to share a little bit about how unique neighborhood councils really are. Neighborhood councils were formed really out of rebellion, So the Valley wanted to secede from the rest of the city because it felt it wasn't getting its fair share of services. And the city said, baby, come back. No. The city said, no, stay, and we will give you more of a voice in government. And so that's actually how neighborhood councils were formed. That is their purpose, to promote civic participation in local government and to make local government more responsive to community needs. So what also makes neighborhood councils unique is they're baked into the city's charter. So the electorate, the people, you voted them in, voted for them, and so they're part of government. So board members are elected officials, and that also means that they're subject to certain, to the Brown Act and some other things, but minor details, we can go over that later. But it is a very unique form of civic engagement in that it is an extension of local government, which makes it different than an HOA or a neighborhood watch group. And that's not to belittle those groups because they do important work too. But this is just a little bit different. And also being given, $42,000. Each neighborhood council is given $42,000 a year to reinvest back into the community and to spend on community outreach. And that's an advantage that other groups don't have, other forms of participation.
Is that the end of what you wanted to relay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's open the floor for questions.
Great video.
Thank you.
Anybody has questions? Okay.
Yes. What would happen if there are 3 candidates running for 5 open seats? For example,
There's 3 candidates for the 5 seats.
will there still be an election, or are they automatically appointed is what I'm trying to figure out?
60% more water.
All the seats should be contested. That's ideal. That's also an indicator of your outreach as well. So we can cross that bridge if we get to it, but I'm hopeful that won't happen. Yeah.
You should give him the answer, Jasmine. And the answer is if they have 3 candidates and there are 5 seats, there is no election.
Correct.
And the board affirms, the city clerk says, these 3 people automatically get a seat. And then you have 2 seats that are filled the same way you fill any other vacancies. And about half the board, half the people sitting up there got their seats in the way that the board fills the vacancy. So you already know what that process is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
How does the board fill vacancies when there's no candidate? Do they appoint people?
We ask for applications from interested individuals, and then we do a vote.
So you try to solicit people?
Yes, ultimately, yes. We can't make somebody. So we solicit applications, we review them, and we have them here, and we talk to them, and they talk to the community, and then we vote for every individual opening.
And do all,
I'm sorry.
just one.
Go ahead.
The second part of my question is, do all neighborhood councils have the same number of board members?
No.
It varies?
It varies.
By who decides, the neighborhood council?
Yes.
Each one, okay.
Yeah.
It's in our bylaws. We can change that if we change the bylaws. Yeah. Right?
Just go on this vein, this is a contingency, just a suggestion. Could the vote be extended if there's not enough candidates to hopefully utilize outreach to get one? If that's the case?
No, the city clerk has very firm candidate filing windows. But it is something that they've considered, but it's not logistically possible for them to extend.
Nor do you think it could be handled on a case-by-case basis?
And it takes money
It would
to run
remain
an election.
open-
At the city clerk.
It would be open-ended from the filling in process, but not the public vote process. That is limited by the city clerk's schedule, unfortunately.
If they have to pay poll members, there's a lot of costs that go into that election.
Any other question for Jasmine?
Comment.
Comment?
She's got great energy.
Yes.
She's good at selling it better.
Thank you.
We didn't miss the video at all. We really
Thank
did.
No, for her to put up with neighborhood council. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item 12. And item 12 is a discussion of the board vote of August 2016, authorizing the vice president to speak on behalf of the board, public officials, and the media on matters related to Aliso Canyon blowout. I know there's a lot of interest in this discussion. It was brought up at the last meeting, but it was not on the agenda, so I was not ready to discuss it because it was not agendized. It is agendized here for discussion. I've assigned 20 minutes for it. I'm gonna say something about it. I'm gonna open the floor for the board to have any comment they want to do on it, and then we'll open it to the public to make comment on it as well. I want to read the motion of August 24, 2016, which is in the attachment to the minutes. And the motion says, it's a motion to authorize the board president or vice president in the absence of the president to speak on behalf of the PRNC at meetings and hearings of government agencies, city or regulatory agencies, as well as to media outlets related to the Aliso Canyon leak. And since the date of this motion, as you know, I have met with a lot of government officials and government agencies, and I've given a lot of testimony at hearings and at public meetings. I have met with the mayor, I have met with the councilman, I've met with state senators, I've met with the assembly member, former and hopefully now the new one. I've met with the chair of the Energy Commission, I've met with the staff of the Public Utilities Commission, I've met with the governor's office, I've met with the county department of public health. I basically meet with anyone who says okay. My mission in these meetings is to carry forward the decisions that were made by the board in the letters that were submitted and the positions that we have taken, specifically related to the need of the community to have the facility closed, as well as the most recent letter about the withholding of information about crude oil being in the gas. So what I do at these meetings is I take these messages and I press them as hard as I can, because it's one thing to receive a letter, it's another thing to have somebody in front of you telling you what the content of that letter is. I don't negotiate anything on behalf of the board. I simply talk and convince. That is the job that I've taken on when we took on the position that we took on in November of 2016, and that continues to be my mission, and I go wherever I can for someone to meet with me. And I also want to say that this motion does not prevent any board member from asking anybody to meet with them. Just to be clear, this is not exclusive. This doesn't say the president can meet and no one else can. Anybody can call anybody they want and meet with anyone they want. And frankly, the board, whatever happens on this later on with a motion or not, the board does not have the authority to prevent a board member from meeting with somebody. The only issue is, whom are they speaking on behalf? If they're speaking on behalf of themselves as a member of the board, there's nothing that anyone can prevent that, and I hope nobody can prevent someone from meeting with somebody. So, that is as far as I am going to say about that, and I'll open the floor. I know people want to talk about it, so how do we want to start from one end?
Sure. Can you repeat the list of the people that you, because I don't even think it's in the minutes. Are you?
It's in the letter, isn't it?
The mayor?
I have met with the mayor, I've met with the councilman, I've met with the state senator, I've met with the assembly member, I've met with the energy commission, I've met with the public utilities commission, and I've met with the governor's office, and I've met with the LA County Department of Public Health. And I've met, sorry, I apologize, and I've met with the county supervisor. So, okay, all right. Hassan, for the timing, so we can open more for the public, is 1 minute sufficient for everybody?
Yeah, that's fine. I would
Okay.
prefer to start from Jason.
Jason?
I don't have anything to say.
Your microphone?
You don't have anything to say?
No.
You're the one who asked for this discussion last time.
Well, well, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to understand is, is why, is what goes on in the context of it.
So I think, what I wanted to know is why these meetings are private meetings and why other board members are in not even one of these situations attending these meetings. Because I think as a board, we have a lot to offer, a lot of talent on this board. So I would like to see some, notes from these meetings, some, transparency in these meetings. But, for example, when we meet with the beautification committee, commonly has meetings. Gabriel is on our committee, Alex is on our committee, and we open it up to the whole committee. So that, and our stakeholders too, so that everybody has their ability to attend, be involved, and that is where the strength comes for us, is, strength in numbers and knowledge, and we all support and work together towards a common goal of beautifying the community. So I think that having some kind of framework or, basic premises for when you do have private meetings, it would be nice if there was some notes, something to bring back to the board about what was, because when you have a conversation, typically, maybe you're trying to make a point, and then they may respond and say, yeah, well, we're gonna take X, Y, Z. This is the results of this meeting. This is what was discussed. This is who was at the meeting. So, we operate as a board. So when an individual, and this isn't for anyone specifically, this is for all of us as board members. When we meet with somebody individually, no matter what we're talking about, I think it would be helpful to always bring somebody along on the meeting, regardless, for accountability, for transparency, but also take notes, and then bring those notes, if requested, back to the board. So that's the gist of what I think is, and I didn't bring any motion at this meeting with any kind of framework because I wanted to see I wanted to digest it, and take time to understand really, give more information.
I'll do this because
Well, having been a member of the past board and not the spokesperson for the Aliso Canyon disaster, I understand how difficult it is for the board. Sometimes in order to get something done, if you have 100 people or 10 people coming after you, you're going to run. But if you have one person who can be your spokesperson and who can reason and talk and get some information and share ideas, I think that's very important. But I also feel that it's very important that everybody be in the loop. And how do you navigate that?
very carefully, and nobody will ever be happy with whatever you decide. So that's pretty much what I have to say about it.
Yeah, everyone got this letter? Okay, I read it twice, and what they're asking is more transparency, okay? They're not challenging you, your authority, or whatever, okay? You've been doing a good job representing community. You've done so much, okay? All they're asking is more transparency. I think you can provide that, okay? That's my comment.
How you doing, everybody? First of all, Isam, you are the best person to represent the board from the start to the end. You have been from the beginning. And after listening to all the public concerns and the emails we received, etc., to my understanding, what the public is saying is give an option to somebody to go with you to the meeting, so there won't be any he said, she said in the future. That way, there won't be any issues of somebody saying something happened in the back, because we are aware of so many backdoors that have happened outside the board with other agencies. So I think they're just looking out for you to protect yourself, so there won't be any problems in the future. Also from the letter, I understood was that ACCAC wants to take over the health portion of the study. So they want to be involved at the meetings whenever it's to do with the health department, etc. And I have a feeling most of them are here today. We're going to hear more about it. But nothing to do, I understand where majority of the people are coming from, and if I were you, I would also advise just take somebody with you just to prevent any issues, or at least offer somebody to go with you so nobody can say that you went alone for any reason. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Well, first I echo on what Gabriel is saying. Isam is the most qualified person in Porter Ranch and the issue related to that. And the PRNC board is elected, and it's part of the city of LA, as Jasmine just explained. And we as a board selected and elected him to speak on our behalf. So there is a chain of command in there, and like Isam stated, anybody could go ahead and attend. I read the letter a couple of times and I have mixed feelings about it, but I look at it this way. The PRNC is representing the Porter Ranch within the city bounds, and it's an extension and a bridge, direct bridge to the mayor's office through the council office. And everything is transparent. And thank you, Isam, for a job greatly done.
Again, I echo everybody saying Isam is the best person to speak for us. A group of us came in and were elected because many in the public felt the board was not representing them. And you have Isam, you have myself, you have everybody else here on the board, and he has done an incredible job of representing us. And so I guess I don't understand really where this question is coming from. There seems to be some sort of suspicion, and I don't understand where that's coming from, because you voted us all in. And the city creates the laws for neighborhood councils. We have to go by the Brown Act. And as part of that, we represent you. Whether it's a personal meeting with somebody from the city or a regulator, that is part of the job that we do up here. It is not an easy job. Sorry, Jasmine, it's a fun job, but it's not an easy job. And so individual discussions have a place. There's a calm intellect that takes place in an individual meeting, a one-on-one, that is a different dynamic when 2, 5, 10 people show up. So again, I support Isam in all of these meetings he had, and I would support that going forward.
Do I have to say nice things about you? Let me just tell you, there are numerous times throughout the weeks that I see Isam. We run into each other at 5 o'clock in the morning at Starbucks, and he's always working on behalf of the neighborhood council, or the other, his other business, but he works endlessly. One of the things I might want to encourage, because I was on the previous board, and during the PRNC gas blowout, we did attend a lot of meetings. Paula, at the time she was president, she would take Pat along with her at certain meetings when Jerry Brown came to town, when we had to go up to Sacramento. Myself, Paula, and also Pat Pope were there to speak out on behalf of SB 380. So, I mean, it's a give and take, but we put our vote into you, we put our trust into you, and we stand by that. But I would encourage, if you ever feel that there's a need, put it out to the board. If somebody wants to step up and go with you and pay for themselves if you're going up to Sacramento, because the board we don't get paid for going up. This comes out of our own pocket. When I went to Sacramento, we paid for our own tickets. But you might want to. That's up to you. We put our trust in you. Thank you.
Good evening. Well, first of all, thank you, Sam, for the hard work you have been doing. I have also witnessed a lot of the time and effort you have put on behalf of the community, writing beautiful letters, a lot better than what I can do, or maybe most of us can do. And that takes a lot of time and energy out of a person, especially having the career. So from my part and the board part, we really appreciate what you're doing. I echo, I think, a couple of things that other members said, which is, if there are meetings, I think it would be good to have some discussion on those. Or at least some maybe advance notice that if you were to have a meeting with someone, that if somebody wants to tag along. To me, reading this letter, and I don't have any problem with this, I think what the community is saying is transparency. And I think you have been very transparent in just about everything or most of what we have been doing. I think this could be a little bit of, maybe as little as an oversight, that we have given you, the board has given you the authority to speak on our behalf, on behalf of community. And it's very comfortable to say, we are behind you, and we are. But having maybe a little bit of more discussion and transparency would help, hopefully, to alleviate some of the concerns, if they are really concerned, because I think most of the folks sitting here, they really appreciate what you have done. But at the same time, I think if you look at deep down, that's really what they're asking is, let us, the community, to be more involved, or at least what activities are coming up, so they can be part of it.
Let me respond to some of the points were made, and then I'll open to the public. And I'm going to be blunt. I'm on video right now. This is a public meeting. This is public information. You don't take a knife to a gunfight. I said you don't take a knife to a gunfight. We are we are making an argument against a behemoth. I'm not going to put my cards on the table 72 hours before I go meet with somebody. You got to appreciate what we are trying to do here. We have a goal that we stated in our letter. I am making a commitment to everybody that is the subject of my conversation. The goals that we lay out in the letters that the board approves and sends out. There's nothing beyond that. But I cannot put out this information before the meeting is held. And I'll be more blunt, because either before me or after me, a lobbyist will be in with a big wallet. Whom are we kidding here? We are in a fight. Now, I am working on the boundaries of what the city allows me to do. I can push that limit and get kicked off by the city clerk or by the city attorney. But we are in a fight. And the other point I want to make is, you know what? Everybody works the way they work. You give me a job, this is how I do it. I am sure this is not how anybody else may want to do it, and this is not how someone wants me to do it. But this is how I work. I'm either effective at it, or you tell me, you know what? This is not your job. But you gotta let me do my job the way I know how to do it, and you need to look for the results of that work. Now, I will keep in mind the idea that if I have a meeting scheduled with somebody, and I think that I can bring somebody with me, I will do that. Okay? But beyond that, keep in mind, we are in a fight, and that is the posture that I have to keep. And if that means some of the stuff that I argue is not stated in the public, I'm asking you to understand why. And as far as this letter, what bothers me about it is we are being asked that the 11 elected members of this community to relinquish their job to 8 self-appointed members on a committee that they created that are not governed by any rules of engagement that the city imposes on us. We would be derelict in our duty to go in that direction. There's a reason the rules are in place, because without them we'd have chaos. So I hope that anybody on this committee who wants to be part of this, the deadline is February 19th. Run.
Yes.
Run, come here, change it, kick me off, whatever you want, but you have to understand this is an elected body. Even though only 400 people voted in the last election, it is still 400 people that voted. And we have a process in place. Do not shoot down the process, work with the process. So that's my answer. With that, I have Patty, I have Deirdre, and I don't have notes after that. Just a second. Just a second. So I'm going to take the written notes, and then whoever else wants to speak, please stand behind them and make your comment. And how many people want to speak? 8, 20? What? Okay, can we do 1 minute?
Okay, I'll
Can you
try
do
as
that?
long as no one interrupts me, and I am reading from the solo.
All right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't want to be accused of shorting this.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Okay. So I want to thank you, Isam, for your expertise and hard work to communicate to the CPUC about reliability. But it's been 3 years without a health study for the northern San Fernando Valley, not just Port Ranch. And among the Salco Gas, the AQMD, and public health, we've seen delays, misdirections, and even lies. And for example, the firefighters' lawsuit underscores the lies told to them by public health, which endangered our first responders. Having one person meet with public health does not lend to itself to the transparency that the residents want and need. The ACCAC is comprised of several informed, active residents from more than just Porter Ranch, who have been working toward getting a proper health study conducted by the proper researchers. And again, it's not just about Porter Ranch, so a neighborhood council is not the right way to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Good time. Deirdre?
I'm not ready yet, I came in late. Can I pass the thing out and come back?
You can come back there. Who else? Helen, you want to step up? Bear with me, let me reset this.
Just cheap and stuff.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's 158. Anyways, I think this is a misunderstanding here. We respect you tremendously, and I have been in the hearing and I've heard you giving reliability talks, and it honestly gives me goosebumps when I hear what you're saying, because none of us have that knowledge. And I'm so proud for you to represent us. But the mistrust is not in you or the board. The mistrust is the agencies. We have been talking to agencies also for almost 2 years with the health department, but you guys are not aware of what we are doing, the same way that we are not 100% aware of what you guys are doing. There's communication going on between us and Department of Health and Supervisor Barker's office. We have been asking for over 2 years to have a meeting with them. They have been denied. I have even talked to Jared, I've even had arguments with him. They do not meet with us. The Department of Health, when you meet with them and you represent the community, when we talk to them, say, oh, we just talked, to the community leaders, and we already decided on this. They're telling us something, they're telling you something else. Those are the corrupt ones that we want to avoid, that miscommunication between them and the community and you. That's why we like to be part of the conversation if possible. If there is especially the health issues that we have been involved more than 3 years now. Because my daughter has been sick, I've been sick, because of my family I've been involved. And I like to get some kind of answer. I'm really, really upset. But they're lying to us. There's a cover-up. But when they talk to you, they say something else. When they come talk to us, they say something else. We were Department of Health on conference calls for 1 year, every week. But you guys are not aware of what we have been doing behind the scene. It would be nice to have some kind of communication.
Lang? Let me know when you...
My apology, but I wasn't aware of this letter. I've been busy job hunting and volunteering and whatnot, but again, I don't know who wrote it. I find it a personal insult. I've recited my credentials over and over when I speak to officials at hearings. I was alone at SoCal Gas's criminal trial. I have supported this community through my own pockets. Eason was there. He was the most effective speaker. He didn't need a sidekick. We don't need, we've got Johnny Carson. We don't need another Ed McMahon. That's okay, I'm making light of this, but here, let me just mention some things I jotted down when sitting there when I think of Eason and what he's done for the community with regard to this particular matter. I wrote, stand alone, most knowledgeable, character, professional, trust, concise, personal. You make personal relationships. That's how you get things done. And it all starts with personal. And results-driven, sacrifices, initiate. Now, when anyone else here can step up to the plate and do these things, and given what he's given, and bring integrity to the community and have people listen to him, from Diamond Bar to Sacramento, where I've been as well, then you can come up here and use your voice, and let's make some change. But for now, please, I'm with him. I want to keep this the way it is.
Anybody else?
The accolades can continue.
They don't have to.
Well, but they should, because you're a terrific guy, and your intellect and your passion for this subject is amazing. And it's respected and it's appreciated. And I really mean that. But this is, and never has been, an attack on the character of the man. This has to do with, we are a bunch of ordinary people that have been catapulted into a completely extraordinary event. This isn't a typical neighborhood council issue. This is catapulted to national awareness. The profile on this goes well beyond what typically would happen. Transparency is a challenge. It can be difficult, but it's very worthwhile. And I will point to Susan as setting the bar for transparency. Susan is very accommodating. She puts out, we have meetings we can go to. She's very accommodating, even when we disagree, right, Susan? Okay. So Susan gets to hear from the community. I am not aware, I know you have your opinions, but I'm not aware of the transparency of you coming back and meeting with the community to understand what our issues are, what our concerns are, what message we want delivered to Parker, what message we want delivered to public health, so that if you are the sole person and we disagree with that, you would at least have complete input from the community. Then you use your skills, your talents, to how to explain them. But right now, it's a little too siloed, because we have just one person's opinion, approach, and intellect. With a broader scope, we think you'll even be more effective. Susan brings up a very good point. You are not going to get a meeting with Supervisor Barker with 50 people. It's just not going to happen. There are times for intimate meetings, as we all know. It's in somebody's office. I'll be real quick. It's in somebody's office. There's only a couple of chairs, right? We're not asking for an entourage. We're asking for a small group of informed community members to go with you. Also, last thing, and I bet you Jasmine would agree, many neighborhood councils would love this sort of engagement from the community, because they probably talk to fewer people than you usually have. You guys should embrace the community who wants to be more involved. Please allow us to do that, especially on an issue of this magnitude. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just want to thank you, because I know in the last couple of years how much stuff you've done. A lot of it doesn't get thanked, and I think tonight you've heard a lot of great things. You should be smiling, because there were a lot of good compliments that were given to you. But I understand that the way you operate, and it's probably like your business, you run it by yourself, you're used to getting things done on your own, and that's how you are very effective. I think bringing a couple people into a meeting is going to change the dynamic of that. I think there should be somewhere where you guys can meet in the middle, because even the people that wrote the letter, they're still really appreciative for what you did or doing. They're just not happy because they're frustrated. And understandably, they've been 3 years trying to get a meeting with an office and nobody answers their phone calls. So I understand how frustrated they are, and them writing this letter is probably trying just to get more done. But maybe coming back from a meeting and having a 5 minute on the agenda of what was talked about, and maybe that, just opening up a little bit of dialogue to get kind of a little bit open, because it isn't fair what agencies have done to a lot of us. And you've gone above and beyond, and I also think you should be paid, your flights should be paid when you are going on meetings and representing the community. I don't think it should come out of your own pocket.
That's the law.
That's a horrible law. I think you guys all, you know what, it's a volunteer job, and I know you guys don't all get praises, but I think you guys all are doing a really good job.
My name is Hal Bass, because I don't know the other people's names who've been speaking. I think it would be nice if people would mention their names. I've known Esam for a number of years. I want to tell you, he's a man of great integrity. He's articulate, mature, level-headed, and he does work very well with people. I will tell you that. I'm a part of the Northridge Park, the Homeowners Association. My wife is the secretary, Phyllis Bass, and Esam is very open there, and I know people here, and he's open here and works closely with this board and gets their input and then brings it to these meetings. We need one voice, and what's happening is you've got $1,000 an hour lawyers from the gas company and oil companies fighting us. So we need one voice to fight them back, and let's hope that the $25 million settlement will give us the wherewithal to do a research study. I believe that research study should have been through the NIH, and we should have had our local congressperson do it. Where the heck was he? He's now out of office, but where was he fighting with the NIH to put that money to a big study involving major centers like UCLA, Caltech, and so on. That's what we need, and I hope that we'll still have Esam's voice and yours on this neighborhood council.
Thank you.
My name is Gail Brow, and I want to just say a few things. We have kind of a schism, and it has to do with transparency. I believe that Esam is transparent in the people he's been to see. But There are people here who don't know what has taken place in these meetings. And maybe there should be some type of executive report of a summation of what took place. And that may help satisfy these people. But at this meeting tonight, I've been here, there was a representative from the health department. Did any of you question her? Did you talk to her? Did you make an appointment with this representative?
We have.
What, did she talk to you tonight? Did you ask questions of her tonight?
I did.
One person. Because I believe that you could have put her on the spot. And you didn't. Instead, I sat here quiet and took it all in, and I felt that you're putting Isam on the spot. That's how I took it. That's how I feel.
Let that
No,
be a
but I
comment,
need
I
to
understand.
finish what I have to say.
But let's not have a discussion. Let's not have a
But
discussion.
it's a discussion of my feelings right now. Right now, I'm expressing my feelings, everyone else has feelings. And it's a feeling of transparency and not being heard. And I feel that there are a lot of people not being heard here. And we need to think about it in the best ways that we can solve this problem, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Make one comment.
Just one second, let me ask the public for more. I want to exhaust the public
Okay,
base. Anybody else?
okay,
One more? Deirdre, you're still planning?
Jane, are you going?
Let-
I'm still writing.
Three more.
I 100% support you. That's it.
Good evening, my name is Deirdre Bologna, resident of Porter Ranch, and we appreciate you, Esau. Appreciate you're brilliant. We've been with you at countless meetings in the public. We've been to hearings. We've seen you in Sacramento. We've been in line with you in Sacramento as you get up to speak. We are passionate people that want to see change. And we have been fighting, like has been said, for 3 years, all right? You are, and we are happy to have you represent us. Like I said, you're brilliant. I've seen your letters, seen you speak. We couldn't ask for a better person to represent us. But I have been to private meetings in Sacramento. You sat down with many people. And I know that I'm not asking for 20 people at a meeting. A couple people to balance out. You have the floor, you speak, and then the other people that have been fighting this fight, as you have been fighting this fight, that have passion in their hearts, and a lot of information that you're not privy to at the time because we haven't talked. We haven't sat down and talked and let us know what we're working on and you're working. I think it would benefit us all if we could get together and talk and plan strategies, because there's a lot of people in our group. That's why it was formed, because we need to get this information out, and anyone that can help us, we're grateful. And Isan, we do respect you, and we always will. We appreciate everything you've done for the community.
Any other comments? Go ahead, please.
I was going to talk, and hearing this, hearing everybody, it's kind of like giving me heart palpitations, because as we've all expressed, we, Esam, we bow to you. I mean, respect you, all of that. I think what I sort of realized is that we have been working really hard with meetings with Department of Public Health. I have a stack of cards of going around to, assemblymen, senators, councilmen, just fighting for our cause, and we've been doing that individually, and then we keep seeing each other. We've, kind of come together, and supported each other in going to meetings with, doing things we've never done before. So, we're floundering, and we're looking to you maybe for, unity in this fight. We want to be an ally with you. We're in this fight too. So I know you don't know what we've been doing. And maybe that's part of the problem, is that there's not a discussion saying, hey, we went here, we did this, we've been talking with blah, 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 this is what we've experienced, this is what they've said to us. I think we just want to be heard and want to, these 3 years of working to work together as a community. And find a way, whatever way it is, whether it's, whatever way, just we're asking for, togetherness.
Go ahead, please.
My name is Debbie Donnelly. I know Wissam primarily through the Northridge Park Homeowners Association. He's our president. He's the president here. He runs business. I don't know how he has time to do it all. What it sounds like to me right now is that there is an issue of transparency, but I'd like to know where the transparency was with this group in coming to you about such issues. I'm personally involved at the Oak Ridge Estate. As I'm sitting here, I'm running this all through my brain and realizing that we have been stamping our feet as Friends of Oak Ridge, trying to make things happen at that property for 9 years, and really the only way to do it is through the city and through the elected representatives. That's right. It's a tough lesson to learn. It's a long lesson to learn, but you have to learn it, you have to embrace it, and you have to work within that system. So I would urge you to maintain your confidence in what the board is doing. Get behind it, feed them the information that they need, and let them do the good work for us. I have every confidence that they can do it.
Anybody else?
Thank you so much.
ACCAC is 100% transparent.
What does it stand for?
Aliso Canyon Community Action Committee, it's in the letter, it's bolded. It's in
Yeah.
the letter, it's bolded, it tells you exactly what they
This is not, this is what I do not want to have. I don't want to have arguments, so.
we're
If you want to say something, please say it.
We're completely transparent, and just for the record, I've asked Islam 5 separate occasions to meet with me for coffee, and I've never asked a woman out 5 times, Islam. So thank you for taking the invitation, and I would like to continue those conversations. Complete transparency.
You know there's a reason why those 5 meetings did not happen. We're not going to go there now.
That's fine.
But I have also offered you that I'd be glad to meet with your group and be able to have those discussions without breaking the Brown Act situation.
And we applaud.
And you know that.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's been shared.
Becky?
I just, very quickly, I just want to say thank you for being our voice. Sometimes I think part of the problem in this whole process has been that we're screaming so loud that they can't hear us. And I think that to have the power of one, sit one-on-one with someone and explain where we're all coming from after taking all kinds of input from us is so vital. Not only is it vital for him to do that, it's also vital what all of you are doing. And we have to give you the levity to continue what you're doing. And we have to give him the levity to speak on our behalf, because that's why we elect him. And he is articulate, he does a great job. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Alex?
Since we have the county supervisors step there, why can't they have a meeting with the supervisor? They've been asking for 3 years.
We've been asking for 2 years.
He's on 2 minutes.
Of course.
Alex, the supervisor has received numerous requests for meetings, not just regarding Aliso Canyon, but multiple issues.
No, I think they want to.
I'm getting there, Alex. I'm getting there. ESOM is the Port Ranch Neighborhood Council is the elected voice of the Port Ranch community. ESOM was voted on by this board to be the voice of the Port Ranch Neighborhood Council, which serves as the voice of the community. So when ESOM requests a meeting, he is the request that we hear is the representative on behalf of the community. And that's why the supervisor had granted a meeting with the supervisor. There are other community groups, there are other stakeholders. It's not just, there's multiple stakeholders in Port Ranch interested in Aliso Canyon. The opportunity to meet with the supervisor, we cannot accommodate all those different requests. So to ensure that we are representing the community to the best of our ability and recommending to the supervisor, that's why she had granted a meeting to ESOM. I do want to stress one thing though, while I have 1 minute left. It's not just individual meetings that go into the decision-making process for the supervisor or her staff. We take information from multiple sources. And I can look at different people on this council and people in the audience that have given me very specific ideas that I've taken to the supervisor that she's incorporated into her position regarding Aliso Canyon. The best example is Susan and the ad hoc committee. Remember, I'm the one that even recommended you. $25 million for a health study and $3 million for the air monitoring. I don't think we can do that. I took it to the supervisor and I said, boss, that's a lot to ask for. She said, I don't care, go for it anyway. And that was very direct representation of Susan. ESOM didn't make that request, it was taken from a different area. Greg, I took one of your comments regarding transparency to the health study. And you're going to hear a little bit more information about how we want to form a community advisory group. I can tell you that was because of your demand for openness and transparency. So just because an individual or group does not meet the supervisor does not mean we are not listening. We take ideas from different individuals and different stakeholders. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Let me say something.
Go ahead.
Additional problem and the poison in the gas companies is not only for Ranch issue. So it's not as great as it is, it's not representing the whole San Fernando Valley.
He's representing us.
Yes, but this is not the only Corte Ranch Valley.
There are other neighborhood
Okay,
councils.
let her speak.
But I'd like to know why is it that you are not meeting with the residents who have been affected and the activists right now representing the group of communities?
I understand your question, but I have personally attended multiple neighborhood councils where this has been a topic of discussion. Northridge West, Granada Hills North and South, Chatsworth. Other different neighborhood councils.
We were the ones there standing
So,
in line.
yes, and I've been there, and I've attended those. As I had said, we feel Porter Ranch is the voice of the community for the impacted area. If there's other concerns from other neighborhood councils, I've always been at those neighborhood councils when I've been asked to attend.
All right. Good? Go ahead.
I'm gonna say,
You know, actually, what I had in mind was more on a general nature, not necessarily pertaining to Aliso Canyon, but like, for example, when you met with the councilman's office, like, I did appreciate that you took some of the points that some of the things that we're working on, like that land use is working on, and for example, and bring that to the council. But, you know, I think it's just, it's good to, when it's a broad nature topic to, like, for example, if you're thinking of setting up a meeting, okay, you can share it with the board, and that's not going to be going on Facebook or anything. But that way, board members can say, hey, oh, can you talk to them about this? Or can you know, so I think that.
Let him finish, please, let him finish.
Okay. So, no, I just think it's, there's a lot of value here, you know, in this board, and it's nothing, and that if you are representing, you know, us, and because a lot of us were working on separate issues individually, you know, through committees or whatever, and I'm not talking about police, I'm talking about just in general. If you're meeting with the supervisor, maybe there's other things that we might want to talk to about, but, you know, the other thing is, like, when you mention it, it's kind of at the end of the meeting, well, not at the end of the meeting, but it's like under board member comments, and then you'll be like saying, oh, I had a meeting with so-and-so, and it's like, well, when this topic came up, you know, you said, oh, I met with public health and this and that, and I think it would be helpful if there was kind of a report back, or like, I like the comment of executive report, you know, something where, so we know what was discussed and what their reply was. I mean, we want to know like what they said. You know, if you met with Catherine Barger, what did she say? So I think it's helpful to not just, not to agendize it, you know, and give some feedback, because, you know, we want you to represent it. And everybody supports, you know, I support what you're doing, but it's just like, we just want to be in the loop, kind of. You know, and that's not much to ask, and that will create the transparency that we need. And there is an opportunity for people to speak and give their opinions, and for you to take that into account when you have these meetings. So I think that, you know, that type of dynamic will make everybody happy. And it's a little extra work, but to take
Not everyone,
notes
please
back.
don't speak for everyone.
Let him finish, please.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody interrupts me. It's nothing against anybody. It's just a matter of like, you know, bringing something back and having the opportunity to discuss it. So if you had a meeting with the mayor, well, let's talk about it and share, you know, so we all kind of in the loop and have a chance to give input. It's not much to ask, and I think it's important to bring a board member, and you can choose a board member who you want, you know, somebody who's gonna, you know, who you work well with and who's gonna accurately represent, you know, because it's important, you know, when a councilman goes to a meeting, he brings the chief of staff, you know, I mean, this is how things are done. I mean, I appreciate that, but, you know, in all circumstances, it's not gonna work. If you're traveling to Sacramento or something like that, it may be difficult, but I think it's nice to do, you know.
All right. If we're done with this, can we move on to the next item? All right. Item 13. Discussion and possible action. David Balin, can we speed this up?
Is it possible that I can take both 13 and 14 together? Because
No, because they're funding, they need to go with separate board motions, so that's why we have to separate them.
I'll be quick.
Yeah.
All right. So, item 13 is a discussion and possible action to approve the neighborhood workers grant application submitted by the LAFD Foundation.
Hold on, fire department.
I have to recuse
Okay.
for the next two.
All right.
In the amount of $2,500 for Fire Station 28 in Porter Ranch. So, this, first off, the money is coming from the funds that we have set aside already from traffic and safety. I believe we have approximately $9,000 to use. We've been trying to get funds for the fire station now for almost 2.5 years. Before it happened to be for the hydro packs, but unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. We approved it, but the city shut it down because the fire station is not a 501(c)(3). So they do have a foundation, and the money goes to the foundation, and when the firemen need something, they contact the foundation, they get the funds. So right now,
Becky, would you please let...
Yes.
Becky is recusing herself. Becky's recusing.
She's recusing herself. Go ahead.
so I mean, they have all kinds of things that are falling apart in the station. But one of the most important things that I want to share with you guys is that the jaws of life that they have at the station that are constantly being used at Tampa Rinaldi, Wilbur Rinaldi, the exit off of Reseda Rinaldi, it's failing. And they need, if they want to get a new one, it's like close to $35,000. So they just want to start repairing these things. So this money, as small as it is, will help this station.
Okay. Any questions on this from the board? All right.
So I'd like
Can I have a motion?
Yeah, my motion is to approve $2,500 for Station 28's foundation, money going to the foundation.
Station 18.
This is Station 28.
So first, can I-
28. I'm sorry, 8, sorry, it's 8.
Number 13 is 8.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second here.
Gabriel, second.
Public comment?
fully support.
Public comment? Thank you.
One
Yes,
quick
sir.
one. I'm Randy Hess. I'm a Porter Ranch resident, but also a member of the board of the foundation for LA Fire Department. So
Great.
if there's any questions on the foundation, or we absolutely support what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the gentleman from the foundation? All right. No further discussion? Call the vote?
All right, David.
Yes.
Hassan. Yes. Susan.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Andrew's absent, Brandy's absent, Becky, recused, Assad? Yes. Gabriel, yes, Isam?
Yes.
And And motion passes.
Thank you. Item 14, David,
Item
please.
14, this is a discussion possible action to approve.
I'm sorry, hold on for a second. Yes?
Becky went home.
Okay.
She didn't want to come back in because she recused.
Right.
With me.
So
So,
just-
but she was,
So Becky is gone for the
Becky's
day.
gone.
Okay. Thank you. David?
Yes, neighborhood purpose application submitted by the LAFD Foundation in the amount of $2,500 for Station 28. So to reiterate, these funds are used for the station to rehab their equipment that's starting to fail. And they have such a difficult time, believe it or not, getting support from the city. The city shuts them down constantly. So we really need to support them.
Second.
All right. Have a motion?
That was the motion to approve $2,500 for Station 28 in Porter Ranch.
Second.
We have a second. Public comment?
Add me up below.
All right. Board comment? Call the vote?
All right, David.
Yes.
Hassan. Yes. Susan.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Andrew's absent, Brandy's absent, Becky's absent. Hassan? Yes. Gabriel, yes. Isam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Remember,
David.
these are funding motions. We need your signature.
Yes. Thank you, Board.
Okay, thank you. Item 15,
It's me?
that's you, Susan.
Okay, discussion and possible action to authorize myself or another board member to file a community impact statement on a council file. All right, so as you know, a community impact statement is a way for our board to weigh in on a motion that's been done by the LA City Council. And so when we find a city council motion that we are in favor of, we write support for it, and it goes to the public record, and it's a meaningful way for us to comment on what the city is doing. So this one is calling for a report, only a report back in 45 days from the Department of Recs and Parks, LA Zoo, Department of Aging, and LAX on the potential to offer vegan protein entree options for city concessionaires, city concessionaire locations. And then they will report back on ways to ensure these options are available for an ongoing basis. You're like, what's the big deal about vegan? Okay. The food items we provide for our community have an impact on climate change. Dr. Marco Springman, Senior Researcher in Environmental Sustainability, Public Health University of Oxford, explains, food system is responsible for about a quarter of all greenhouse gas emissions. And the majority of these emissions, roughly 3/4, are due to animal products. Dietary changes towards more plant-based diets can therefore make a huge difference in our carbon footprints, and they might indeed be necessary in order to avoid dangerous levels of climate change and stay below the global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. So we felt this was an important thing to weigh in on because, again, this is just a study to see the feasibility. But if there's an option there, we have found that people often take it. I wasn't here for the food, but we almost always have a vegan option, and we have found it to be very popular. So again, I think this is, a really easy thing to do. I'm the chair of the Sustainability Committee, so it is along what we do for sustainability. Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council, as you can see, we have water back there. We don't even use like plastic water bottles anymore. David, I did not see that. So that is what I'm proposing, is to support this report back in 45 days about having a vegan option at city venues.
I'll second the motion.
And you have the CIS right here stated.
I do. The language in the CIS is stated right here in the.
So
Did you want me to read
may
it?
I ask that you amend the motion to basically say that you submitted, to be clear as to
Sure.
who's submitting it, so it's not
Sure.
confused?
So, okay, I move that Susan Gorman Chain files a community impact statement on council file 11-1678, which calls for a study report
All right.
back on the feasibility of providing a vegan option for underage and various city venues.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it again.
All right, public comment? Go ahead.
I've been studying climate change for the past 4 years, nationally, abroad. I've trained with the Climate Reality Project 4 times, been in the Paris Agreement, et cetera, et cetera. Climate change does affect us here, especially because of methane mountain. We need to mitigate and act on climate. It's actually more than a quarter now. I go to all of the von Karman lectures at NASA, JPL. And so not only are we acting on climate, we know it's heart disease, we care about the community and everything else. And the vegan options at last year's Earth Day at the park for Port Angeles Castle, the food was gone in a half an hour. There's plenty of meat left 2 hours later, but people were standing in line. I was 9 minutes late bringing that food. And people were mad at me because they're like, we're waiting in line, where's the food? So this is so important. I actually think I was at an event yesterday with Councilmember Koretz, our climate hero, and I thank Tim for that. He's the one who authored this motion, so thank you so much for considering supporting. Thank you.
All right, public comments on that? Done. Board comments?
Thank you, Susan, for writing it.
And Lane, helped a lot.
Lane.
All right, call the vote.
All right, David.
Yes.
Hassan.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Alex. Here. Jason.
Yes.
Andrew's absent, Brandy's absent, Becky's absent, Hassan.
Yes.
Gabriel, yes, Isam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 16, Jason.
All right, this is a motion to file and mail the community impact statement in support of Council File 15-0467-S8, which is Blumenfield Rue. Current hiring efforts, Bureau of Street Services, city trees planting, maintenance, and care services. And I won't go through it, the text is here, just to highlight a couple key points. Is looking at alternative sidewalk repair options. We have a lot of very large old growth trees here in Porter Ranch, and the last thing we want to see is those ripped out to repair sidewalks. Other cities have been able to do that, so we want to support this council file. This is also hiring more people at the Bureau to undertake these important tasks. So that's pretty much it. And I've highlighted a couple things. Better address the needs of the community while helping the city to catch up on their backlog of stumps and tree removals. One of the suggestions is getting neighborhood councils more involved in supporting these efforts. We have a lot of backlogs in stumps. We have a lot of trees that need trimming, and neighborhood councils are very motivated, and the community is very motivated to get this work done. So we're making the suggestion that they can perhaps find ways, such as the pothole truck. Pothole truck comes to our community, and we can tell it to get these potholes. Well, they can do the same thing with the stumps or the tree trimming. Give us some resources.
Can I ask you to amend the motion to identify the person submitting it so we are clear on who's doing this?
Yes.
Are you authorized?
Yeah, I'm authorized, and I
Okay.
will submit it.
Would you please amend the motion?
Yeah, motion for Jason Hector to file and mail.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right, public comment?
Just really, really fast, sorry. I definitely support this. We need trees to mitigate. If you could please check with Mayor Garcetti's office, because Kevin Taylor told me a couple of years ago that they were already putting trees in the plan as far as mitigating Aliso Canyon. Just thought I'd throw that out there, but I do support it.
Thank you. No board comments, no further comments?
Very quickly, LA is losing their tree canopy at an alarming rate, so this is really important to get control of this and to try to get more trees planted and to save the trees we already have, so thank you.
Thank you. Call the vote?
All right, David.
Yes.
Hassan. Yes. Susan.
Yes.
Alex. Yes. Jason.
Yes.
Andrew's absent, Brandy's absent, Becky's absent, Hassan. Yes. Gabriel, yes, Isam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item? What is next item? Where am I? Item 17. 17, Brandy's not here, so if I may speak on her behalf, or whoever's on the outreach. Who's the outreach?
Who's outreach?
Both of you are on the outreach. You want to take this on?
You're at outreach.
Not really. No. So I'll read the motion. Discussion of possible action to authorize the outreach committee to manage the PRNC Earth Day event with the budget up to $5,000, and to authorize the outreach committee to immediately apply for and pay for any and all required permits for the event.
And the attachment has a breakdown of the requested item costs. And the idea is to, just in talking to Brandy, the idea is to put this out so she can be authorized, the committee can be authorized to get good quotes and stuff like that, come back in March for final approval. But the point is, There are permits to be pulled, all kind of stuff to be done, so we need to get this either up or down tonight.
I'll second the motion.
Notification.
Yes.
The subway, the 150 at 4 to 600. So the 2018 budget was 600, and now the 2019 is 800. So you need to correct it to reflect, or either change the 150 at 4 each, or change the 800.
The budget was just pulled from last year, and there's actually some things in there that are not even applicable.
The point right now is that we have an up to in the motion, and this is her best shot at a breakdown to come up with that number. But the notes, other than the permits, which we're authorizing here, whatever the city's costs are, other than that, will come in March for final approval. Okay?
David seconded the motion.
David.
No, Jason's at motion.
Jason made the motion, David seconded, public comment. All right, board comment. Call the vote.
All right, David.
Yes.
Hassan. Yes. Susan.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Andrew's absent, Brandy's absent, Becky is absent, Assad. Yes. Gabriel, yes, Isam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Remember, this is a funding motion, please. Item 18 is also a funding motion. This is from the Elections Committee. We have two posters that are in-your-face posters.
Yes.
Yes, it's in the last page. Last page. Actually,
That got
the
my
one before last. Unfortunately, we're going to try to post these. I'm going to try to post these at the schools, the Starbucks, wherever we can, because the deadline is the 19th, 5 days from now. But this is really a request to pay for the printing cost of these two posters. The first one is for the candidates and has a QR code for people to go up to with their phone so they can keep on after they grab their coffee. And the other poster is for elections, for voting. That has more time for us to print and post, but that's my shot at them. And the committee is asking for funding up to $150 to print and post these posters. So that's my motion. Can I have a second? We have a second from Gabriel.
Second.
Public comment? All right, board comment?
Looks nice.
All right, call the vote.
All right, David.
Yes.
Hassan. Yes. Susan.
Yes.
Alex. Jason.
Yes.
Andrew is absent, Brandy absent, Becky absent, Assad. Yes. Gabriel, yes, Isam.
Yes.
And motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you all for your patience and for everybody who stayed till the last minute. And we are actually adjourned.
We're on time.